7 hidden facts about Joe Biden you never know about him. 1. Joe's eldest son died of brain cancer. Joe Biden attempted to rebuild his family in 1977, and everything seemed to be going well until the 2000s. Up until the 2000s, the Biden family led a seemingly normal life. His children grew up and made lives of their own. His eldest son Beau became Delaware's Attorney General and also served the U.S. in Iraq. Tragedy soon struck again when Beau had a stroke in 2010 and then developed brain cancer in 2013. Beau underwent multiple treatment methods such as chemo and radiation therapy and surgery to remove a mass from his brain. These treatments proved to be ineffective, however, and Beau passed away in 2015, igniting a passion within Joe Biden to support the fight against cancer. 2. Joe's wife and daughter both died in a car accident. Joe Biden's world turned upside just weeks after his election into the Senate. While out Christmas shopping with their children, Joe's wife, Nelia, was in a car accident with a tractor-trailer that resulted in the death of both Nelia and their daughter, as well as the hospitalization of both of their sons with serious injuries. After some convincing by his friends, Joe decided to stay in the Senate and was sworn in next to his son's bedside at the hospital. Joe decided to stay with his family and commute every day to Washington, whether that was by car or train. Joe eventually married Jill Jacobs in 1977, but their family struggles were far from over. 3. Joe Biden ran for president twice before being elected. Joe Biden's first attempt to get into the White House was his presidential run in 1988, when he pursued the Democratic nomination. He withdrew from the nomination race after parts of his speech were discovered to be plagiarized from a British political leader without properly crediting him. Joe would try again for the Democratic nomination in 2008, but did not receive enough support, and he decided to withdraw again. This would later turn out well for Joe, as Barack Obama would ask him to run as his vice president. 4. Joe Biden was an adjunct professor. In 1991, Joe Biden started teaching congressional law as an adjunct professor at Widener University. Joe would organize his classroom around a single conference room to encourage conversation and give the class a more realistic feel. He also brought his class to a Senate meeting with the Foreign Relations Committee to give them real-world experience. Joe would retire from Widener University in 2008 to join Barack Obama in his race for the presidency, but that was not his first experience trying to get into the White House. In 2008, Biden's former coach E. John Walsh described Biden as skinny, but he was one of the best pass receivers I had in 16 years as a coach. 5. Joe Biden is the 5th youngest person elected to the U.S. Senate. In 1972, Joe Biden decided to run against the current senator at the time, J. Caleb Boggs, who had been in the Senate for 2 terms already. Joe enlisted the help of his family to run the campaign. His sister was the campaign manager, his brother was in charge of fundraising, and his wife accompanied him while he went door to door. All of this work paid off, and Joe became the 5th youngest person to be elected into the Senate at the age of 29. Joe earned the title of Delaware's longest-serving senator because of his re-election 6 times. This was a bittersweet moment for Joe, as tragedy shortly struck after his election in 1972. 6. He was a high school football star. During his senior year at Delaware's Archmere Academy in 1960, Biden, who played wide receiver and halfback, was a leading scorer on the private Catholic school's undefeated football team. He was the guy that was the main pass catcher. One of his teammates, Michael Fay, recalled to the New York Times in November 2020, "We were seniors in 1960. So throwing the ball was almost a mortal sin. But he caught 7 or 8 touchdown passes in 8 games, which was a lot for back then. 7, he screams for ice cream. I don't drink. I don't smoke. But I eat a lot of ice cream," Biden said in 2016 of his well-documented favorite snack. Eater reported in April 2020 that his presidential campaign had even spent $10,000 on ice cream, though they were gifts to campaign donors. During the virtual 2020 Democratic National Convention, several of Biden's 7 grandchildren appeared in a pre-recorded video describing his love for the frozen dessert. "He's always eating ice cream," they said, joking that he hides his Braille's chocolate and vanilla tubs so Grandma doesn't see. After accepting the Democratic nomination, his eldest grandchild, Naomi, shared on social media that they'd gifted him a pint of ice cream. "Pop, tonight you eat from the box," their note read,